Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That's the beauty of podcasting. You can listen to us whenever you like to. Welcome into Touchdown in Paradise here on the Finns Talk Sports Network. I'm Justin.
I'm Joe.
I'm Pete. No, I'm Russ. How's it going?
Forgetting who he is.
Sabbatical Pete's, he's on another sabbatical. The dedication with that guy.
Yes, Pete is obviously out of office right now on a road trip to Canada. He's up in Vermont. We wish him well. So this week, we're going to just jump right into it. But before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us for all the best college football content here on the Finns Talk Sports Network. Now, getting into this, our leading story this week, Kirby Smart, head coach of Georgia, said, I believe all SEC teams should be ranked. I guarantee you there's some teams that don't want to play them that are ranked. Every team we play in the SEC is good enough to beat us. And whether they're ranked or not, I could care less. I'm trying to be more physical than them and outscore them. The only thing I'm concerned with, not their ranking. So, guys, thinking about this in mind, Vanderbilt sits at 2-4 with losses to Wake Forest, UNLV, Kentucky, and Mizzou. So is Kirby right? Is he out of touch? Or is the media just taking this way out of context? Russ?
I mean, I would say – sorry. I would say in years past, I don't think every SEC team should be ranked, but in years past, I would agree with them. Majority of the SEC is better than a lot of the college football other programs. So I would agree with them on in a whole, the SEC has been a more dominant conference. They put out, as we've seen in the college football playoffs, they put out winners year in, year out, and always putting in 1-2 teams. So in a whole, yes, this year, not as much. You got, 3 or 4 in there? I think this year we're seeing a lot more parity in college football, and it's kind of, is that purely off the transfer portal? Now these kids have more, control of what they want to do. I would say that'd be a big part. So, but I would disagree with Kirby that they all should be ranked because Vanderbilt's there still. So, great baseball program, football, it's not there yet.
Joe, your take.
Yeah, I agree with Russ. In years past, I think you could argue that there are a fair amount of teams that should be ranked, highly ranked, the SEC, being the most dominant conference. This year, though, is it the transfer portal? Is it just a down year for the SEC? I don't know that answer. But where I do disagree is, again, Vanderbilt is usually not that good. Mizzou is having a good year this year, but normally they're not very good. Kentucky is up and down. Before 2019, Tennessee was awful. I don't exactly agree. I get what he's trying to say by basically implying the SEC is still the best conference, and I will agree with that. But I think the margin is getting a lot smaller. I think, look, the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is loaded this year, and I think a lot of those Pac-12 teams could compete and beat a lot of those SEC teams on any given Saturday this year.
You could easily say, if you look last year, you could easily say, I know Bama lost 2 games, but I think Bama could have easily won it all last year. Yes, they lost 2 games, but, even the way we saw Tennessee at the end of the year in the Orange Bowl. So, it's deep, but I don't think it's as deep as it's been in years past.
Well, Texas A&M, Florida, South Carolina, they're good, but should they be ranked in the top 25? I don't think so. I maybe not this year, maybe in years past it kind of flip-flops, but to say every SEC team should be in the top 25, I think that's a bit bold this year.
The way I saw this, it could go a couple ways. One could be Kirby's just trying to boost his team's resume by beating teams that have a number next to them and make sure that he's still getting the love and respect that he's gotten the last couple of years being the coach of Georgia. But also, is he making excuses because he's winning games all close this year? He's not got the same guys as the past. What do you think?
I think that's a valid point, Justin. I definitely think, again, Georgia does not look like that invincible Georgia that we've seen the past 2 years. But then I also agree with you. I think he is trying to still boost that resume, still get that, that tip of the cap that says, okay, you're still Georgia. But yeah, they do not look immortal. They look very beatable. They have some weaknesses. They could lose if they play, really any team on any given Saturday, I feel.
I mean, Justin, you lived in the South. I've lived in the South. The SEC is not just about them. They have a lot of conference pride. So does that surprise you? The SEC, the pride for the conference is they take immense pride in the SEC.
Yeah, it's so intense that you'll hear them all chanting SEC, SEC at their games.
Oh, there's a lot of conference pride. I think that's another thing. He's trying to sell the conference just as much as he's trying to sell Georgia. So, SEC is a whole other world. It's a whole other. It's a whole other conference.
Yeah, it's not quite like California where Joe and I are right now. And Russ, you grew up here. You know what it's like, and you now know what the South is like.
It definitely, it goes all sports for California. If your team isn't, I know the Lakers have been great. Dodgers probably. I honestly think the Dodgers is the only true, legit diehard fan base in Los Angeles. But it's just there's so much to do in Los Angeles where if your team isn't winning, people aren't going to show up. Whereas out here, they don't have pro teams. There's not as they don't have the SEC doesn't have the beach, the weather. Where it's the college football teams are their pro teams.
Yeah, I liken that to a Boston per se, where none of the teams have been good in so long. I'm talking about college teams, but you had the Patriots who had a dynasty for 20 plus years with Tom Brady, and they just somehow got all the great players or the overlooked guys up there, and that created pro sports football culture in New England where everybody really loved watching football. But then there's nothing to see at the college level. They just don't produce top-tier talent like the South does. And LA, for example, didn't have a pro football team for 30 years almost. And you had USC dominating the headlines for a long time down here. And that's really the only sense of pride that college football had. Because let's be honest, UCLA doesn't attract the same college football audience that USC does. Now, basketball is a different story. But that's the main staple brand here in LA is USC football.
Well, and I think also being in LA, we have two teams of literally every sport. So, you have two baseball teams, two hockey, two basketball, two college football teams, two pro football teams. It's just a oversaturated market that it's okay, if the Rams are terrible this year, we can either cheer for the Chargers or, like you were alluding to, Justin, LA hadn't had a team in 30 plus years. So you just have your allegiance as the Raiders or Niners or whoever else. So it's much different where if you're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, you only have the University of Alabama. You don't have a hockey team or a basketball team anywhere near you. So, your team, your pride is that college team.
I agree wholeheartedly. Speaking to USC, there was a very exciting morning game there last week in Colorado where Colorado's comeback fell a little short. USC walked away escaping Boulder with a 48-41 win. Caleb Williams continues his outstanding season, 403 yards, 6 touchdowns. Threw his first interception, though, this week. On the other side of the ball, Shedeur Sanders, for the lack of talent on the offensive line and the defense, he made up for almost all of it with 4 TDs, 1 interception, and a touchdown rush for himself. So, Joe, let's start with you here. Is Deion's Coach of the Year campaign all but gone now?
I think there's definitely better coaches that should possibly win that award. I think Mike Norvell at Florida State. I think depending on how the season ends, you could maybe throw in potentially a Marcus Freeman or a Lincoln Riley from SC. I just think, again, these are two tough losses for Colorado. I love this. I love to see the fight in Colorado. To storm back being down, I think it was like at least 21 points, if not more. So that you have to tip the hat to Dion for keep fighting. But how much of that was SC taking their foot off the pedal? I don't know. But yes, I definitely think the Coach of the Year award for Dion it's done. He's not winning that thing.
Russ, your take on this game?
I mean, yeah, I agree with Joe. I think SC might have took the foot off the pedal. Coach of the Year was going to be a stretch for Dion, honestly, for me. Just what he was going to go up against. I think he's already succeeded. He won 3 games. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Dion does next, this offseason, where I think he's going to hammer the D line. He's going to hammer the O line because you can see he needs the big boys up front. You need the guys in the trenches. You need those nasty guys on the line because the rushing game is weak. But they won 1 game last year, so it's definitely Dion's already succeeded, and that's probably definitely a selling point why he went to Colorado, knowing that he can mold it the way he wants and not go into a place where, hey, we want to see wins. We want to see wins right away. We want to see top 25, top 15 right off the bat.
I think also in the world we live in, we want that instant gratification. So I think as fans, even if we weren't Colorado fans, we expected Dion to have Colorado rolling first year in without a beat, without any issues. And for a couple of weeks there, I would say we all kind of believed that maybe this is going to happen. But I think just the Pac-12 is so deep. I think Colorado is dealing with a bunch of injuries. They're not that deep. So with those injuries compounded the fact that, when they run into 2 good teams of Oregon and SC, you can have a really good coach in Dion. And I think Dion is a great head coach. I just think, again, college football is a team sport. It's not just one player or a coach. You need the whole team clicking. And I think it just – at this point, it's good for Colorado, good for Dion. I look forward to what he's going to do next year. I think Colorado's trajectory is flying right now, and it's looking bright in the future. But I think for this year, it's just let's just manage. Let's just get to a bowl game and go from there.
Last note on this game, guys. What happens with USC's defense? Do they have to get rid of Alex Grinch right now if they want any hope to win a natty? Russ.
Mid-season, that's going to be tough. Like we've all said, it's going to be SC's going to live and die with the defense. The defense is going to either take them there to the college football playoff or not. And the way they've been looking, I don't see it. And that's been Lincoln Riley's, downfall ever since he's been a head coach, has always been the defensive side of the ball. So, but a mid-year firing, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I agree with that, Russ. I think, again, to fire your DC mid-season, you're asking for even more trouble. I think you just got to ride it out. And I do think the one issue with Lincoln Riley is he's very loyal. He will keep these guys on. He did that at Oklahoma. Oklahoma could recruit. Yeah, he could recruit good defensive players, good teams, but for whatever reason, their Achilles heel was always the defense, and that's transferred over to SC. Their defense, again, did SC take the foot off? Take their foot off of the pedal? We can that's a discussion that we could all have. My personal opinion is they kind of did. So I think the defense, kind of played a little more conservatively, but still they gave up. What was it? Shador had 4 touchdowns, one pick, one rushing. I would have to look at the stats further, and I think they still put up a ton of yards for Colorado. So yeah, their liability is defense. If they want to win the Natty, they got to shore that up, and I don't see that happening. So I think when they play Oregon or they play Washington, yeah, it's going to be a shootout. I'm taking the over on that game 9 out of 10 times.
Shador Sanders had 371 yards through the air.
That's
and also Omari and Miller, 196 yards receiving. How about that?
Yeah, I mean that's not even Colorado's best guy out wide, and he's putting up almost 200 yards receiving. Like that's a liability.
What, he had like 10 offensive snaps going into that game.
Yeah, like this is a guy you didn't see on film or you barely saw on film, and he's putting up almost 200 yards. Like
almost 200 yards a game. That's video game numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So SC, they have the talent. So I definitely think it's the coach, but you can fire him mid-season. I think that opens the door for even more issues.
They just can't put it together, it seems. But Notre Dame put together an escape at Duke, 21-14 last week. Sam Hartman, the magic 222 yards. Audric Estime was the real star of the show, though. 81 yards on the ground, but 2 touchdowns, including the game winner, with under a minute to go. Meanwhile, Riley Leonard had 134 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. And unfortunately, he got injured at the end of the game. We hope that he's okay. Is this a cause of concern for Notre Dame, seeing that they're winning these close road games, Joe?
No, I knew this game was going to be a tough match. Look how they played Clemson, and Duke beat Clemson. So, I mean, I knew this was going to be a slugfest. I knew Duke was going to throw everything that they had at ND. I'll be completely honest, Justin. We were at a wedding, so I didn't even really watch a lot of that game.
Neither of us did.
But the little bits that I did see, again, it was a road game. It was Duke. It was college game day was there. It was big time for Duke. So Duke was throwing everything. I think for Notre Dame to win a game like this against a ranked opponent away from home after a tough loss, I think that shows the character of Notre Dame more than does it show a worrying sign. I think this coming week against Louisville will also be a real tell to see how they respond. But no, I'm not really too worried about Notre Dame and the signs of this game. Their run game looks good behind Estime, like you said, Justin. I think we just got to give Sam a little more time. And, I think if you give Sam time, he'll pick you apart.
Russ, is Duke done for if Leonard is out for extensive time?
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate. I like seeing that. That's a tough kid. So, I mean, it's probably done for. It's unfortunate because, that was exciting. That's the first time game day was ever there in Durham at Duke. So it was exciting stuff. I definitely want to echo. I think that was a nice win for Notre Dame, just to come back from a really tough loss there. I mean, but it was a tough, gritty game. Like I said, they hit the under. I was watching. I did get to see that game. I was watching it. I'm like, well, okay, good. I'm gonna get the cover. I'm gonna get the under. I'm gonna get the W. Notre Dame will just kick the field goal, and then Estime just he goes left. Oh, he sees no room, and then bam, hits a whole touchdown. But I mean, Notre Dame's got to feed that beast. Estime's a stud. Just keep on feeding him, and they needed to feed him more in the Ohio State game too. But I think he was like 5 yards a carry in the Ohio State game.
That man can run. I know we're keeping score of our parlays here. Here's one that I went clearly the wrong way on. Kentucky manhandles Florida 33-14 up there in Lexington. NC State transfer Devin Leary, the new Wildcats quarterback, a very nice 69 yards, 1 touchdown. And Raymond Davis, the real star of the show on the ground, 280 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Meanwhile, Graham Mertz for the Gators, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Russ, are the Wildcats a dark horse that could win the SEC East?
I mean, it'll come down to this week. Let's see what they can do this weekend. So, when they got Georgia, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a really good game. I'm really looking forward to it. But that's gonna be their true measuring stick is this weekend.
And my apologies to the Kentucky Wildcats, Mark Stoops, Devin Leary, and Mr. Raymond Davis. I was wrong. I picked the Gators. I very well should not have. You guys may as well very well be legit. Joe, your thoughts?
Justin, I was with you. I can't pick the right Florida game to cheer for Florida, apparently. So whenever I think I should cheer for Florida, I got to do the opposite from now on, because whenever I think Florida's looking good and going to get the ball rolling, they put up a stinker like this one. But Kentucky, you know, they look like the real deal. I mean, it's like Russ said, this game this weekend is the true test. But they have the pieces. Their defense looks good. They have a good offense. If Devin Leary can stay healthy, I know he's had some health issues, especially when he was at North Carolina State. But if he can stay healthy, who knows? They may surprise some people.
So Joe, I got your solution for you on Florida. So now you got to play it like roulette. If you hit black, you got to jump on the red, or you go 2-2-1. You can't just keep on hitting black. So what you do is now you go Florida to win because they lost. So you just got to keep it going, flip it back and forth.
I mean, I gotta just if they're playing at home, that's when I gotta pick them, because apparently they're better at home than away, because they can't seem to win a game outside of the Swamp.
That's right. You know, there's something about the Swamp. Russ, I don't know if you made it up there to Gainesville yet, but it is a very hostile environment. It's so tough to win in there. It is louder than any other stadium I've probably ever been to, other than the national championship game this year.
Unfortunately, Justin, I mean, that's a bucket list, but I have a couple other things that are a little more important than getting up to Gainesville right now that I have to take care of before I can, get that luxury. So hopefully that comes soon.
We're all rooting for you, buddy. We're all rooting for you. And we are on to, I know we are all rooting typically on this show for the Lane Train, which after this week seems to be back on the tracks. Ole Miss stuns LSU in the final minute, 55-49. Jackson darting that ball through the air, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, 50 yards on the ground, and 1 touchdown there too. Jaden Daniels, pretty much the same numbers, but a little bit better. 414 through the air, 4 touchdowns, 99 yards on the ground, and another score. I know we were all kind of predicting, maybe Brian Kelly's got this, but Joe, I know you dealt with Brian Kelly for years. Tell us your thoughts.
Oh, man, I wish Pete was here, because he jumped off the Lane Train.
With me.
He said he had his bags packed and everything, and I was just like, all right, you're going to be proven wrong. He was proven wrong. Oh, again, great game. It was a shootout, great game. It could have gone either way. It just comes down to coaching. It really just comes down to coaching. And ultimately, Lane Kiffin got it done. He got it done. And, I think, you look at the stats again, Jackson Dart and Jaden Daniels, 400 yards, if not close to 400 yards, both with 4 touchdowns. That shows the talent is there. It just comes down to coaching. And as you said, Justin, I don't trust Brian Kelly in those games.
Russ, your thoughts on this high-scoring affair?
That was a great game. Super fun to watch. Just shootout. I loved it. I can't get a read on this Brian Kelly LSU team at all. It's insane. It's just like one week I'm off them, they win. The next week I'm on them and they lose. So it's like I can't get a read.
LSU's your Florida, Russ. You got to just do the opposite.
Well, if we're going off of my predictions, I should be on LSU this week. But
we'll wait and see.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is one of those games that just shows why we love college football so much. You see 50, gosh, what was it again? 55-49 score in the Deep South. It felt more like a Big 12 game with that score. No defense, and you just see these jacked up offensive guys just air it out every single time. Touchdown here, touchdown there, touchdown, 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 touchdown. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. Everyone gets a touchdown. But yeah, this is why we love college football. We get to see these gaudy video game numbers every week. In the NFL, everybody's a professional, and it gets much tougher to score.
it's electric. It's the reason why we watch college football, is to see games like this. I mean, the defensive struggle games are good occasionally, but I would take a Ole Miss LSU game if they scored this every time over a 10-7 game without a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now we go into our Russ report.
How we doing, guys? So Joe flipped it back. He had a decent week. He's back up on top. He's got 31. Justin, you're right below him at 35. I'm sorry. You had a pretty bad week. It happened, so don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, hey Pete, where you at, Pete? You there? Yeah, Pete's at 29. Sabbatical Pete. And then I'm at 26 and a half, making a little comeback. Had a big week. So we got a lot of football left. So let's get into it, Justin.
Yes. Overreaction, Russ, by the way, in the game chat. He said Oregon was bad, losing to Stanford. What was that final score again? What was it?
Did you? I was like, I saw that. I'm like, I'm going to throw this out just to mess with Justin and just throw it out. I want to get a reaction, and I did. So that's great. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it, buddy.
We couldn't let you go easy there.
Yeah.
Now we move into the Paradise Parlay, starting here in the Big Ten with Nebraska visiting Illinois. Illinois is a 3.5-point favorite. Over-under is 43.5. Illinois minus 166. Nebraska plus 140 money line here. Russ, you're fixed.
All right. So I'm going to take the points with Nebraska. I'm going to take the money line with Illinois, and then we're going the under, all right? Nasty Big Ten football, two defensive teams.
Interesting. Joe.
Yeah, that was my initial gut reaction when I saw this game. I was just like, this is going to be just a boring, classic Big Ten defensive battle. But, there's something about this game that tells me otherwise. So I'm going to take Illinois minus 3.5. I'm going to take Illinois money line just because it's at home. But I'm going to take the over. For some reason, the over-under seems really low. It's like 43.5, which is like 21 points. I feel like that could be almost at halftime practically, because both these teams are not that great. So, yeah, I'm taking the over as well.
I'm going to take bits and pieces of both your arguments here. Joe, you're right. Neither of these teams are that great, especially on the offensive side. I'm sure you guys have watched some Nebraska football and some Illinois football. Brett Bielema just can't recruit those offensive guys, but those defensive guys, they are tough to get past. I'm going to take the under for that reason. Russ, though, you did spark my interest in, of course, the Illinois money line. I do feel like Nebraska is in just still a rut that they're trying to climb out of. Illinois is further along, so I'll take the money line there too. I don't know if I'm ready to take Illinois by a field goal. I may take them by a point or 2 points, so I'll go with Nebraska to cover there. Next game here we have Kansas State visiting Oklahoma State. Tough year for them. Oof. Kansas State minus 11.5 on the road favorite, 55 over-under. Kansas State minus 425 money line, OSU plus 330. Joe, let's hear from you.
I feel like this one, 11.5 seems almost too low in my opinion. Oklahoma State is having a terrible year. What happened? Was it Mike Gundy is their head coach? He maybe needs to shave the mullet, restart the mullet. I don't know. Oklahoma State is not the same team. So I'm taking Kansas State 11.5. I'm taking the over, and I have Kansas State winning big.
I like it. This is no man's land for Oklahoma State right now. They're playing a 3-quarterback system, or at least they were. I don't know if they figured things out, but I don't think they will. Kansas State is still a very talented team who had a tough break against Mizzou on the road. So I'll go with Kansas State to cover. I'll take the over, and I'll go money line as well. Hard on the Wildcats in Stillwater. Russ.
Yeah, I really wanted to take the 11.5. I wish it was more like 17, but I can't. So, we're all on the same train.
Yeah, we're rolling with the Wildcats here. Alabama visiting College Station to take on the Texas A&M Aggies. Bama comes in as a road favorite, minus 2.5, over under 47. Bama minus 135, A&M plus 114 at home. This is always a tough one because A&M sometimes sneaks up and beats Alabama, or they play them really close. And Bama just isn't that good this year. And seeing them on the road at USF, that didn't look great at all, given they were starting Tyler Buckner. Jalen Milroe is going to be the guy this time. A&M now coming off a big win over Arkansas at a neutral site, has Max Johnson at quarterback, no longer Connor Wagman. I think that Bama will cover this game, that 2.5. I'll also go ahead and take the under here. I think it's going to be an offensive struggle for both teams. And give me the Bama money line. Russ.
I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to take A&M to cover. You know what? I'm going to change my pick on the fly. I was going Bama. I was going to go Bama money line, but you know what? I'm going A&M to win. All right? The last time A&M played in College Station, Bama played in College Station, they lost. So I'm going to take A&M. I'm going to take the over.
All right, he believes in Jimbo. Joe.
Yeah.
And Max Johnson. That's a good quarterback.
I gotta stick with my guy. Until proven wrong, Nick Saban is the guy. He is the coach of the SEC. Kirby can say whatever he wants. Once he kind of builds the dynasty that Nick Saban has at Alabama, then we can talk, as well as I don't trust Jimbo Fisher as far as I can throw him. So I'm taking Bama with the points. I'm taking the over. I think this is going to be a shootout. And I'm taking Bama money line.
Kentucky at Georgia, staying in the SEC here. Game in Athens. Georgia at home, minus 14.5. Over under here is 49. UGA minus 600. UK plus 440. Joe, let's hear it.
I think like what we talked about, I think Kentucky is, hopefully they didn't just, kind of show up to the party a little too early, and now Georgia has them circled. Like, don't overlook them. So that's my really only fear. But again, if Kentucky just plays the way they did, I know Athens is tough, but I'm going to go Kentucky with the points. I think it'll be close. I am going to take the over again, though. I do think that there will be points put up, but I'm going to take Georgia money line. I do think Georgia ultimately squeaks it out.
Great picks, Russ.
Scratch that. I'm going to go with my original. I can't go. I've gone against my gut so much with betting, so I'm going to take Bama with the money line. But I'm still taking the points. I got to go with my gut reaction. I've gone against my gut so much. But I'm taking Kentucky to cover. I'm taking Georgia money line, and I'm taking the over.
You guys make a great argument for everything, and I just feel like we're very consistent and in sync today, so I've got to go a different way. I'll take the Bulldogs to cover. I'll go the over here, and I'll take the Georgia money line. Washington State coming down to LA to face the Bruins of UCLA. UCLA minus 3.5 point favorite at home. Over under here is 59. Money line UCLA minus 185 with WSU coming in at plus 154. Now this is a little shocking to me because do you see how many points the WSU puts up per game? And they're coming on the road and they're an underdog. The UCLA, who's lost a couple games.
They're also rated in the top 25, and they're the underdog.
Right, yeah, that makes no sense to me. Vegas must know something that I don't. I'm not buying it. I'll pick the Cougars with the win here. So I'll go Washington State money line. Definitely taking the over. They're going to put up a lot of points, and I'll take them to cover as well. Russ.
Yeah, I was very surprised too, Justin. I'm going Washington 2, Pac-2 champs. I think they take it over the board and the over as well.
Joe. Yeah, I mean, to have Wazoo as the underdog is almost disrespectful. I realize it's an away game, so you got to give UCLA some credit, but look at Wazoo has looked legit. They're my sleeper team. This is my game of the week to watch. So I have Wazoo with the points. I'm taking the over, and I'm taking Wazoo money line. I don't know where they're coming off with UCLA as the favorite here. I mean, Dante Moore looks good, and UCLA looks okay, but you compare them to Wazoo, and Wazoo just looks electric. I mean, this is the weird one. This is the weird betting statistics of the week, in my opinion. So if I were a bettor, which I'm not, it's illegal in California, and I don't break the law. I would bet the farm on Wazoo this week. I think Wazoo it's an easy pick.
Cam Ward is on fire. You've got to go watch that game if you have the access to, because that guy is box office, quarterback for WSU.
Mm-hmm.
Moving right along here. Notre Dame at Louisville. Notre Dame minus 6.5 point favorite on the road. 54 over under. Notre Dame minus 265. Louisville plus 215. Russ, let's hear from you first. We'll hear from Joe last here.
All right, I'm going to take Louisville with the points. I'm going to take Notre Dame to win. So I'm going to take Notre Dame with the money line. And, what was the over on that, Justin?
54.
Let's go the under.
Okay, looking at this game, the last couple of weeks, Notre Dame has played some pretty tough opponents. Louisville is going to be no slouch either. They're 5-0. They're favored by almost a touchdown. I think Notre Dame will cover that. I will take the under because they just can't seem to score the last couple of weeks. I don't think this game is going to be any sort of a tune-up, and I'll take the Irish to win. Joe.
Yeah, this is definitely a tough game. This is week 3 of a tough 4-week battle for Notre Dame. It started with Ohio State, and then it's going to end with SC next week. Ultimately though, I think Notre Dame's finding their identity. And I think, again, that's just ground and pound, feed Estime the ball, and, then let Sam Hartman do something with his arm and play action. With that being said, I think this will be a close game. I do think they pull it out. So I'm taking Notre Dame with the points. I am taking the under as well. I think it will be kind of a grind. And I'm taking Notre Dame money line.
Okay, we're all almost in the same lane there. Now for our game of the week. We've got the Red River rivalry, Red River shootout, Red River showdown, however you know this game. Texas versus Oklahoma. The game is in Dallas at the old Cotton Bowl. Texas comes in minus 6.5. Over under 60.5. Money line, Texas minus 270. Oklahoma plus 220. Let's hear from Russ first.
All right, so I'm taking Oklahoma to cover. I'm going to take Texas to win. I think it's going to be 3 or 4 point game, and I'm taking the over. Big 12, taking the over. I think it's going to be a shootout. Last Red River rivalry in the Big 12, so excited to watch it bright and early in the morning, 12 o'clock here on the East Coast.
All right, Joe.
I've been going back and forth since I realized this was the game of the week. I was looking at the history. I was looking at, who won last year. I've been trying to figure this game out. All I can firmly say is I'm taking the over for sure. Now, with the spread and the money line, I'm just going to go gut reaction here. I'm taking Oklahoma with the points, and I'm going to take Oklahoma money line. They got embarrassed last year against Texas. I just feel like there's something brewing in Norman, and this will be where they prove it, or I'll look like an idiot and we'll talk about it next week. So I'm going to go Sooners. Go Boomer. Let's go.
Boomer. Hey, I agree. I'm fine with that. I saw one of the best college football games ever watching Oklahoma at the Rose Bowl. Granted, they lost to Georgia, but one of the greatest college football games I've ever seen in my life, and I was there. So,
agreed. That game was one for the books. Baker Mayfield versus Jake Fromm, Nick Chubb, and Sony Michel in Georgia. Now, my take here, as a guy whose family all went to Texas, last year was an absolute domination. And as a guy who also once rooted for the team Dylan Gabriel played for in UCF, I can tell you that in the past, the big game has never been a good friend of his. But Brent Venables so far seems to have changed him for the better. And I can't believe I'm saying that. So props to you guys. Oklahoma was my sleeper team last week. They had a big win, putting up 50 points at Iowa State last week to prepare for this. But now they get their ultimate test, a Texas team that's been red hot all year. I just feel like it's Texas's year. Last year in the Big 12, you're the main staple, big show of the conference. They're motivated to go out, win this thing undefeated, and go to the playoff. And this is your ultimate test right here. So I think Texas makes a big statement, big showing, just like they did last year, and covers, go in the over. Oklahoma's going to put up at least 1 point this year. And then I'll take the Texas money line. Hook 'em, baby.
As Pete would say, Texas is back.
I think this was pretty good. I want to, can we still a new rule here is like every time you miss a week show, miss the Wednesday or a Thursday, you get docked 10 points on your parlay picks. I don't know who's missed a couple times.
I mean, we've got to vote on that as a group. We'll do that off camera.
Sabbatical Pete.
Sabbatical Pete.
Okay, now moving into our predictions. Last week, we established that we are done picking our playoff predictions. We're also going to put aside our predictions for Coach of the Year, as well as the Heisman. So let's focus on our upsets and covers of the week. Starting here, it is Jack Trice week up in Ames, Iowa. Iowa State, though, is an underdog, 6.5 points to TCU. With the spirit of Jack Trice, that crowd, they're wearing special uniforms. I just feel like the heart factor is going to factor in too much here. And the Cyclones are going to twirl TCU out of Iowa right back to Fort Worth. Give me the upset. Cyclones over the Horned Frogs. Joe.
Yeah, I'm taking Oklahoma in the 6.5 to beat Texas. I think getting that badly upset and embarrassed last year, they're going to come out firing. Again, go Sooners.
Russ.
All right. Well, I'm not going to go with the upset this week. I'm just going to take the cover, but I'm taking Arizona to cover against UCLA. I think it's going to be, 10 to 7 point game.
UCLA is playing Washington State.
Excuse me, USC, U of A, baby. Bear down.
Okay. Arizona covering versus USC. Let me write that down here.
What's the spread on that, Russ?
21.5.
21.5.
Or okay. What? It could have changed.
I'll take your word for it. Arizona covering versus USC. And Sabbatical Pete's not here, so we'll skip over him for now. Next up, our sleeper team. I went back and forth here. West Virginia and Penn State met in week 1. Neither team has lost since then. West Virginia did compete, but Penn State, they just look good. I know in the past they've always been choking in that 1 week, maybe to Ohio State or Michigan or to some team along the way. But this year just feels different to me. But Michigan also feels different. Ohio State feels different in a bad way. Penn State, don't sleep on them. They're ranked number 5 in the country right now. A couple more wins over Ohio State or Michigan or one or the other, they could be right there in that playoff picture. Joe.
Yeah, I'm going Wazoo. I think the last year of the Pac-12, I think they have come out fighting, guns blazing. I think they feel disrespected that they're the underdog against UCLA, who has a couple of losses. Look out Pac-12 for Wazoo. I'm not saying that they're going to win the Pac-12, but they're coming. They may pull off some upsets that we're not going to expect.
Russ.
I don't want to, repeat the sentiment, but I was going the same way. I definitely feel disrespected that no one wants them. And they're a tough out. They're going to play Oregon, Washington. This is not an easy out. So, I'm definitely with Joe. I think Wazoo can shock some people.
Oh, going the opposite way of your Beavers.
I'm like I said, I never thought going to make the playoffs, obviously. I thought 8 or 9 wins, but Wazoo, I'm ready for Wazoo to shock some people. And, I mean, they feel disrespected that no one wants them, and they're showing people that they're for real. So,
well, there we have it. Now, for the games we're watching, introducing a new segment here, not necessarily in our parlay, but games that we want to keep our eyes on. And this time we're going to start with Russ.
All right, so I'm going – my game to watch is out of the Pac-12 is USC Arizona. All right, obviously you got all the firepower on SC's offense. You know, Caleb Williams, Brendan Rice, Steve Branch is back. Arizona put up a really tough fight against Washington last week. They lost by 7 points. I mean, they held Michael Penix, didn't have a single passing touchdown. I mean, it'll come down to – I mean, they got 2 good receivers there with Jacob Cowing, you know, almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then I don't know how to say his first name, but McMillan's got 5 TDs. We'll see if Jaden De La Tuca, he was questionable last week, didn't play. We'll see if he comes back. But was it Noah Fifita? He stepped up, had 232 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then a guy I'm looking for is Taylor Upshaw. He's had 3 sacks in the last 3 games. So I think this is going to be a game you want to watch, maybe a little late for some people, but I think it's going to be a good game, and I think 21's a lot of points to cover. I think there'll be a lot of points, exciting football.
Okay, Russ, bear down, baby, bear down. Joe.
Yeah, I kind of already spilt my game to watch. It's the UCLA Wazoo game. I think not only is it going to be just an electric game, an offensive game, high-scoring game, I just think it's going to be the game that Wazoo really puts themselves on the map. They're 14. They're being overlooked by everyone. You know, I just think that if you like high-scoring, this will be one of those games that you should just have on your cell phone, maybe not being your main game to watch for this weekend, but definitely check it out, watch it. Both quarterbacks are great. Cameron Ward and Dante Moore are electric. I don't think Cam Ward's thrown an interception yet this season. So, you know, that's a wild stat to think about. You know, I think both defenses are okay. I think Wazoo's defense is a bit better. So again, I just think if you have the Pac-12 network, unfortunately it's on the Pac-12 network, check it out at noon. If you don't have the Pac-12 network, I'll be brief. Watch the Red River rivalry. That's one of the biggest rivalries in all of college football. It's electric every year, even when it is a blowout on one side or the other. So those are my 2 that I basically would say watch this weekend.
And if you don't have the Pac-12 network, make sure you go to your local bar establishment and support them in any way you can and go watch it there, because that's going to be a hell of a game. Nice picks, guys. Oh, wait, what's that? I think I'm getting a little signal from Sabbatical Pete. He's saying, Notre Dame is not dead. We're going to go out there. We're going to dominate Louisville. Let's go, baby. Go Irish.
Spot on, Pete. I didn't realize you were hanging out with Justin.
Yeah, man. I'm all the way up here in Vermont, almost to Canada. Don't care. Go America. Go Notre Dame. Let's go.
So he's Irish. That's all he says. He's in Canada, but all he is Irish.
Yeah, looking at my game here. I don't know if you guys can hear me. There's a blender in the background. Are we good, Dad?
Yeah, we got you, Justin.
Good.
Okay, so going off of my game here. Maryland at Ohio State, a couple of unbeatens here, 2 undefeated Big Ten teams. Ohio State coming off that emotional game against Notre Dame 2 weeks ago, and Maryland can score 38.6 points per game. Taulia Tagovailoa, younger brother of Dolphins QB Tua Tagovailoa, 1,464 yards, 13 touchdowns, 3 picks this season. Can Maryland catch the Buckeyes sleeping this week? That'll be the big question. In years past, they've played some pretty close contests, or Maryland's played them until the second half when they just let up. This game is in the horseshoe, though, which leads me to believe Ohio State will pull it off. But Ohio State does not look the same, in my opinion. Maryland may just catch them sleeping. We'll see.
You know, the one thing I will say about that game, Justin, is if Ryan Day is accurate, this is where Ohio State should show how physical they really are against Maryland, especially in the shoe.
Yeah, that was another game I was kind of circling, so that should be a good one too. And Justin, you're talking your sleeper teams, and you throw West Virginia, Penn State. I'm like, heck yeah, Justin he's going to get us invited to the Thunderdome. Pat McAfee's going to love us, and then you go Penn State.
I seriously went back and forth. Joe and you probably saw the rundown. I put West Virginia there earlier this week, and then I'm thinking Penn State right there. They're undefeated. West Virginia has that one loss to them, but West Virginia's won close games. Penn State, for the majority of the season, has blown out their competition. That's the only reason I put them over. That was it. And we're going to wrap up here on a couple notes. On a somber stat of the day, LSU safety Greg Brooks Jr. has been diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer, medulloblastoma. We, as Touchdown in Paradise and all the Finstock Sports Network, send our prayers to him and his family. If you'd like to donate to LSU's Greg Brooks Victory Fund, which will offset the costs related to Greg's care, including treatment, medicine, therapy, travel, and more, according to LSU's official website, please visit lsul.su/Greg Brooks, GregBrooks. And now for our 3 cheers of the week. We're going to start here. Pete's not here, so it's just going to be the 3 of us, and I'll go first. My cheer of the week goes out to Jeff Brom. The prodigal son returns home to Louisville and has the Cards 5-0 and ranked 25th. Now, I don't think the Cards are ready to beat a Notre Dame team like this one just yet, but what a first season at the helm, undefeated at your alma mater. Way to go, Jeff Brom. For everything you've accomplished, you're 1 game away from going to a bowl game and a program that Scott Satterfield left in middle rounds. Let's see if you can take him to the next level. Joe.
So just want to take a quick moment. The news came out today. Great Bears linebacker Dick Butkus passed away today. Absolute defensive legend. He is obviously the Butkus Award. He is what every major linebacker dreams and hopes to be. So I just want to take a quick shout out. Let's keep his family in our prayers. His legacy will forever live on in professional football. And I love his quote. And I'm going to probably butcher it, but it's the fact that he says, some people were born to be doctors, some people were born to be police officers or whatever. His was, I was just simply born to play football. Absolutely love it, man. That love the football, love to play football. What a guy, just RIP to an absolute football legend. But my cheer of the week on a positive note is Sam Hartman. Not only did he have a hell of a game, ran on a fourth and 16 to get the first down, took the hit to then ultimately lead to the next play, a 30-yard touchdown. But his sportsmanship is truly what is giving me the cheer. After the game when, Leonard got hurt, Notre Dame celebrating, and where's he? He is waiting at the tent for Leonard to come out to, see how he's doing, give him a pat on the back, just ultimate sign of sportsmanship. So again, just a cheers to Sam Hartman on, again, he didn't have to do that, but ultimate sportsman. Cheers to you, Sam Hartman, and great hair.
Heisman hair for sure.
We love to see great sportsmanship, and we love to see respect for a legend in Dick Butkus. Before we get to Russ, if we could take a quick moment of silence to honor his legacy and his life. May his memory forever be a blessing, and may he bless the Chicago Bears tonight because they're currently up 27-14 over the Washington Commanders as we're talking right now. Russ, your cheer of the week.
All right, so in my true fashion, I thought of this cheer probably about an hour after we filmed last week. But my cheer of the week goes watching college football with the boys, all right? Is obviously last week I was back in California. I haven't seen my boys in a while. So my cheer is just, obviously it's a week late, but it's just watching college football with the boys. It's the best time you'll ever have in your life, and you can't beat it. And college football as a whole, it's been a great year. So, I mean, the most parity we've had in a while. So, you mean, go out to your local bar, have your boys over, have a couple beers, watch the game, sit on the couch for 8 hours. You can't beat it.
Yes, to college football with the boys, watching with the boys. I'm sorry I missed you, Russ. I was at an Ed Sheeran concert.
It's all
Came
good.
in
It's all
for
good.
6 hours.
Next time,
But
it's all good.
I got 4 people away from the stage. So it was worth that in the end. And by the way, before we wrap up, hey, Utah, I need a new truck. You got one?
Same here, please.
I'm sorry, guys. You're not a scholarship player. You're only a walk-on. You don't get those.
Hey,
I'll be the
who
biggest
needs you,
mute
Russ? Come
ever.
on. Yes. How about that NIL? NIL is the gift that keeps on giving, especially in the state of Utah, seeing all the scholarship players getting new trucks. So props to maybe one last year to NIL, college players finally getting the money they deserve for their name, image, and likeness. If only this was around when Tim Tebow was dominating. Imagine how much money he would have made off his jersey sales alone.
Manziel as well.
He was making money.
Legally.
Oh, man. What a great show. Pete, we miss you, but we hope you're having a great sabbatical up there in Vermont, Canada, wherever the hell you are. I'm Justin.
I'm Joe.
I'm Russ.
And this has been Touchdown in Paradise. We'll see you next week after a great week in college football. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow the Fins Talk Sports Network for more. And we'll see you next week.